Okay. Call to order this May 28th, 2025 meeting of the Public Safety Committee.
Recording in progress.
Knew that was coming. Roll call, please. Here.
Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Alderwoman Sims, absent. Alderman Gould.
Here.
Alderwoman Harder.
Here.
3 of 4 members are present. You have a quorum.
Kelly. Our second item on the agenda is the approval of that agenda. Is there any changes to be made to that agenda? Hearing none from the committee, the agenda will stand as submitted. Our third item on the agenda is citizen comments. We have 2 opportunities during our meetings for citizens to weigh in. I want to make it clear this is not an opportunity for an exchange or some kind of a forum question and answer, but it is an opportunity for anybody who wishes to address this committee about any issue of public safety regarding the city of Brentwood. You'll be come up to the microphone, you'll be recognized, and we'll give you up to 3 minutes to make whatever comments you want to make. Is there anybody online?
No one with their hand raised. Thank you.
All right. All right, so we'll move on to number 4, which is the report of the committee chairs and the aldermen. I do not have any report as the committee chair. Alderman Gould?
No report.
Thank you. And Alderwoman Harder?
No report.
Thank you. There is no city administrator's report. There are, however, departmental reports, starting with our police department. Chief?
Good evening, sir.
Thank you.
As usual, I'd like to start with a crime report that encompasses basically the month of May. We did have a bit of an uptick in car crime in that we had 7 stolen autos. Out of those 7, however, 2 are being investigated by the detectives behind me as to whether or not they were actually stolen auto cases. Interestingly, we were very low in car break-in reported crime through the month of May, so that's encouraging. We had 3 weeks that had 0, where you start looking at our neighboring jurisdictions, and there was quite a few in this time period. So that's a little difficult to explain in terms of why we're not getting hit. We will defend it by saying we run off several vehicles out of Brentwood in that period of time, so that helps. But there was an incident that happened that I'm going to ask Alex Wilcox, Detective Wilcox, to come up and explain it to you. I think it's significant that he explains the progression of a carjacking case that happened down on Van Markway Apartments to you. And I think it'll give you a little insight into just exactly who we're dealing with when these folks come into Brentwood. It'll just be a couple minutes. Al?
Good evening.
Good evening.
So we had a carjacking on March 19th in the Van Markway Apartments. They broke into 8 cars and then carjacked 2 residents who were sitting in their F-150. It happened about 2 o'clock in the morning. Instantly, we started investigating, and we used flock cameras. That was really crucial to it. We were able to locate the victim's vehicle leaving, immediately followed by a gray Charger. We saw it pass the camera on Dorothy, and then it passed the same cameras over on McKnight, and then we followed them through LPRs up into North City, and that's kind of where we lost it. Once we kind of started following that, we were able to identify the Charger, that it was stolen in St. Louis City 5 days before that. So then we started working with St. Louis City to try and piece the cases together. That carjacking, the Charger from our carjacking, an hour before our carjacking, shot at individuals in Lafayette Square as they were trying to break into other cars, and tried to steal someone's wallet just an hour and a half before that. All 4 subjects in the car were armed. The truck was later recovered in Jennings about a week after our carjacking. It was used to drive through the front of a smoke shop on Grand, try and steal an ATM, as well as some other shootings. We worked with St. Louis City to slowly identify using cell phone records, and we used some tower dumps and everything to identify our suspects. Working with St. Louis City Intel, we executed 3 search warrants last week with St. Louis City, FBI, and St. Louis County. During that, we seized over 45 firearms, took 4 people in custody, and then I'm happy to say this morning, St. Louis County issued charges on our suspect for a robbery, 1st degree, and armed criminal action. However, he's currently in custody with St. Louis City for homicide, robbery, assault first, and some other charges, just to name a few.
They shot each other, didn't they?
Yes, so about 3 weeks ago, this same group was breaking into cars, and during that, one of the people in the group was murdered by the group, and that's the homicide they were charged with. So, yeah, it's, a random resident came out to try and shoot at him and scare him away. Well, they started firing back at, they didn't know what they were shooting at, and they ended up shooting their own friend. So, yes.
Gives you a little glimpse of the nature of these folks that are coming through our town occasionally. So obviously, we put that at an extremely high priority for protecting our neighborhoods late at night. A couple other items of interest. We had another reported robbery out of Van Markway Apartments during this period of time. The detectives are investigating this. It came out as a carjacking. We're not sure the facts of that case are being presented to us accurately. So if you happen to have seen that on the crime report, we're still looking at that one closely. Give you a quick traffic update. As you know, London Brown was moved months ago to traffic detail. Because of the nice weather that's on us and school letting out, London's headed back to the park detail for the summer. So we will look at when summer's over and school's back, we will revisit London going back into a full-time traffic detail at that point. Currently, the police department has 2 job openings. We've been working hard to try and fill those spots. We've got one very good-looking applicant that I believe we're close to offering maybe offering something to, and a second one that we're looking closely at as well. So hopefully we'll get those 2 spots filled in the near time here. In terms of that flock report, and Detective Wilcox mentioned the value of the flock cameras in that robbery investigation. Year to date through the end, actually today's date, we have 43 flock hits off of our cameras that are assigned in Brentwood. We've also received 4 flock hits from cameras that belong to private entities. Deerberg's has them, and the Metro Complex has them. We also have a couple neighborhoods that have them. So these things have really worked out well for us. The one that's most successful is the area that we're most visited in, and up there near Hanley and Music Memorial, up and down Eager Road. Those are the cameras that are going off most frequently for us. But any of the cameras at night, we're really looking closely at. We have a partnership with York Village, which are private cameras, flock cameras, and we started doing something that we've kind of copied from a couple other jurisdictions, where in the middle of the night, and we have ours set from 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., anything that goes through the neighborhood alerts to our police officers. Typically, those cameras alert on stolen cars, on vehicles wanted for crime. We want to know what's going into that particular neighborhood all night long, because there's just not that much traffic that goes in at those hours. So our officers are getting alerts on any vehicle, so they're able to look. I'll just give you an example. Last week, we had a car go through with Florida plates on it. And when the officers got into the area, they found the car, they stopped it, and it ended up being an Amazon driver at 2 in the morning dropping off packages. I didn't even think they did that, but and it was a rental car. So you can imagine that the officers kind of piqued their interest. So, but there's value to that for us, because in those neighborhoods that aren't really active at those hours, it gives us an opportunity to really evaluate what's going in and out. So we're going to run that for about 30 days and then reevaluate and see how it's doing. The Blue Shield City designation that we received, as you know, excuse me, as you know, went through. Yeah, excuse me. They also offer an opportunity for grants. So we're going to apply for a grant to do with our officer safety training. So we'll have to take an evaluation. If you want to drink. Thank you, Ronnie. Not that I don't want to drink after you, but. So we're going to apply for a Blue Shield grant in July when those come online through the state of Missouri. Hopefully, out of $10 million, we'll receive a chunk of money that we can look at and use for our training program. The electric vehicle that we requested using asset forfeiture has arrived, is parked in front of the building. If you want to take a look at it after the meeting, you're more than welcome. Alderwoman Harder had a chance to look at it earlier. It's bigger than we thought it was going to be in terms of headroom and space, because it's a smaller SUV compared to the Tahoes, but we'll see how it goes. The range on it's about 280 miles at 80%. So it should, depending on what happens when we put all the electronic equipment in there, we're hoping that it's good for a 12-hour shift as we use it, but we'll know that going forward. We just completed a promotional process and asked the city administrator to approve promotions, which she did today. Joe Sullivan was promoted from the rank of lieutenant to the rank of major. Todd Lammert's being promoted from the rank of sergeant to lieutenant, and Emmon Figgs is being promoted to sergeant from corporal, and the last one is Theron Johnson. Theron's being promoted to the rank of corporal. As you know, we used asset forfeiture money to make a weapon transition in the police department to upgrade our 6-hour weapons to a weapon that has a red dot sight on it that is considered state-of-the-art for law enforcement now in terms of accuracy for the officers. A lot of the studies that before we purchased the weapon, a lot of the studies indicated about a 40% increase in accuracy in stress shooting. So that's a significant increase. For the last couple days, and again tomorrow, the officers are being transitioned. They'll have those weapons with them by next week. And the early reports are they really like using the guns. They feel more comfortable with them and more accurate with the red dot sighting. If you don't know what that means, a red dot sight basically allows the officer to pick up a dot off of a sight that is electronic, and where that dot is, that's where the round's going to go when they squeeze the trigger. So it's truly state-of-the-art technology on the market now. So we're lucky to be able to upgrade our weapon systems for our officers, obviously for their protection, but also for the protection of if they're involved in a shooting. Accuracy is important, so it's a nice upgrade for the city as well. The body-worn camera transition has happened and it's done. Right now, the utility body-worn cameras are proving to be just as designed. They're a significant upgrade for us as well. One of the indicators, we told you there were several indicators that make the body-worn camera system kick on. Elevated heart rate from an officer that's down, things like that. Another one was the removal of their weapons from their holstered position. That required an extra sensor. They are not in yet. As they come in, they're being installed in the holsters. We're hoping in the next 30 days or so, those will be in and installed. So that if an officer in any situation, whether it's a car stop or a call for service, whatever it is, if he or she feels the need to draw their weapon, that immediately will kick that body-worn camera on, even if they're under duress and forget to do so under our old system. Now it will come on automatically. The CALEA folks were descended upon our police department this week, and so it's been kind of a stressful couple of weeks getting all of the data together. That's an ongoing process that goes all year long for us. Kevin Boschert is the guy that really is behind the scenes doing that. He's our consultant. Kevin was a retired sergeant from Florissant Police Department. He does a really, really good job getting our department ready. We've passed with flying colors since I've been here, and CALEA was instituted in 2019. But each year, we are responsible for reporting to them, and then every other year they come in and really take us under the microscope and make sure that everything's as it should be. So 2 years from now, we have to go in person for another recertification. So this is a process that law enforcement really nationally is being required to do, and I believe it's professionalized a lot of the things that we do. It holds law enforcement accountable for a lot of different areas that may have been less attended to in prior years. So it's a good thing, but it is a lot of work and stress for our folks to be able to get it done. Alderman Plufka, you asked that we take a look at a calls for service that we got at Mary Magdalene School. I'd like to go through that if I could and just let you know what the response was from our department on that case.
Yep, absolutely.
So we received a call, and it came out as a woman who was trying the doors at the school went into our 911 center, was called in by Nancy Montero, who works at the school. She's, I believe, the secretary who sits near the front office of the school. I listened to the 911 tape recording of her call into our dispatch center, and it was very clear on that call. She was very under control and did not seem like she was under duress. And she reported to the 911 dispatch that there was a woman who had tried the doors. And she was asking for officers to respond to the school to pay attention to her. The process from ECDC, our dispatching center, on a call like this is they categorize or prioritize it for our officers. The difference on this is that if it's a priority one call dispatched by our dispatch center to our officers, it would be typically a lights and siren response. Obviously, any issue at a school that's deemed potentially dangerous would be a Code 1 assignment. Officers would respond to it with lights and siren, get there absolutely as quickly as they can. By the way, we train for this on a regular basis, and we train for it in our officer safety program. We train with our schools on this. Our officers are very aware that if there's an immediate issue at a school, they're to get there ASAP. In this circumstance, I think it's important to note that the dispatch center did not have that kind of priority to this call. And our officers were sent on a routine assignment to the school to address what was a homeless woman at the school. I also pulled the body-worn camera video from the officers that got the call. There were 2 officers that arrived. They took about a little under 6 minutes to get there. When they got to the school, the principal and the person who had reported this were outside on a picnic bench with another employee, a man, and this woman. And they were all very calm, sitting at the table talking. And it was clear on the video that I watched from body-worn camera that the woman was had some mental health issues and was a bit under some version of duress or stress at this point in her life. Absolutely not violent, very cooperative, very much under control, as were the people from the school. The principal was there and the person that called us in. So our 2 officers approached. They talked to all of these folks. They separated them. As you look at the video from Officer Johnson, he did what I consider a great job with the person who had tried the doors at the school to not only try and figure out why she was there, but also to offer her help in the end, offer to give her a ride somewhere. But when you look at the video of the body-worn camera, it's clear that this was not an exigent or emergency situation. This woman was not a threat. She had no weapons. She had a religious message that she wanted to give to the school about the value of having Jesus in your life. And that's really what she was telling the officers, was that she just wanted to pass a message. So they talked to her, and they allowed her to leave with a trespass warning, which means she's not allowed to go back to the property. And I think she understood that. At least, again, I watched the body worn. She looks like she understood it. She understood why there was some anxiety with the school officials as to why she was there. And she was told that if she goes back to the property, that she would be arrested for trespassing. So the whole thing concluded in about 8 minutes. I would tell you that based on the circumstances, had the officers gone lights and siren to a call like that, I think it would have been inappropriate. There just wasn't the signals or warning signs that this was an imminent or urgent call for service, that someone was getting hurt. In fact, when they got there, you could clearly see the kids playing in the background. So had the school officials picked up on the fact that this woman was any kind of threat or dangerous, I'm sure they would have taken these kids and put them inside or whatever. So that's what happened on the call. We looked at all the angles of it. I don't see that the officers could have done much different with it. Did talk to the school officials, and I think they acted appropriately. They called the police when she rattled the doors, and they clearly did it under control and calmly. And so we got there and figured out what she was doing and moved her on. So that's pretty much what we do. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that if you'd like, or you have any.
I mean, I appreciate you going through the detail of that, and it does, I'm glad it didn't arise to a more serious circumstance. I mean, I guess I'm curious on why anything with any of our schools wouldn't, any situation wouldn't be a higher priority. Now, I know you don't want to go in sirens blazing and lights going and all that, but if there was, is there something at dispatch could be indicated a school situation that maybe requires a little bit more urgency?
I don't see it in this case.
No? Okay,
They called 911, I listened to the 911 tape, the dispatcher, he vetted her well.
okay, good.
And he, it was clear there wasn't an emergency, any kind of physical violence or construed threat at that point. As for our officers, we've had two, luckily no one injured, but we've had two police cars going through, lights and siren going through intersections in my time here with you guys that were significant accidents. So there is a risk to that. And,
Yeah, no, I
it's,
understand.
I looked at the GPS trail of the officer that got the call. He got the call. He was at the station when he got the call, writing a report. He got in his car within a minute, and he drove from the station directly down Hanley to Manchester to the school. That is it. That's exactly what that call dictates. That's what it's required. And again, had they said, "Hey, there's a threat at the school," that's a different game.
Mm-hmm, sure. Okay, that's the only question I had related to that. I don't know if you,
No, and the principal didn't call for a lockout or lock-in or anything.
They never
like
said
that.
anything to us about a lockdown.
I mean, if you saw the kids outside on the playground, then,
They didn't say anything on the call for service when I went into the dispatch center. None of that nobody mentioned a lockdown per se. Jesus Dominguez was the assist officer. He's off to the side, and as you watch Jesus' body-worn camera, the principal said they lowered a gate, just in case, is what she told Jesus during the body-worn camera. So, which is fine. I mean, they obviously have the
the principal must have had a good read on it, that
yeah,
she didn't.
She did. It appeared that she did. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
When you say the gate, you mean the gate that would have communicated with the parking lot in Manchester Road, that gate? Like a,
This is a gate,
Interior gate?
inside the interior gate that
oh,
just.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it drops down and then it becomes a barrier inside.
Inside so that corner entrance
Yeah.
into the school? Okay. Can you explain, so my only real question had to do with our safety resource officers. I know we have our safety resource officer and his primary function is to spend time at Mark Twain and the public schools in Brentwood. As a part of his day, does he visit St. Mary Magdalene?
So you know that they're under contract through our public schools. 75% of his salary is paid by our school district.
Absolutely right, and I do know that, and I just didn't know, but I just didn't know if there was any.
He has a relationship with the school for sure, and he knows the principal and the people that are there. We actually rely on our road officers to go through there and pay school visits because we know that Hobby isn't assigned there and isn't there much. So the answer to your question is no, he's not there that often.
Okay.
He does he'll do drive-throughs, he'll walk in and say hi, but he doesn't spend a significant time there.
As a normal part of when the school's in session and when it's during the week, as a normal part of the way we patrol Brentwood, would an officer make at least one visit, or how many visits in the course of
Depends
the
on how
school day?
busy they are. Our day watch is getting more and more busy. But, yes, that is part of their patrol directive. I would have to go back and look and see how many times they actually have called out at Mags. I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that they are aware of it and they go there. So there is a difference from having a school resource officer there all day long, of course. But it is part of the patrol plan, and Hobby goes by as much as he can in his tour of duty. But it is, I would never portray to you that it's the same as having an SRO sitting in your lobby every day, all day long. It's not like that.
Well, and as you say, the majority of that office of Hobby's salary is paid by the school district.
And he's got more than one school to pay attention to just within that framework. Hobby
Right.
does.
He's got the two elementary.
He does a great
schools.
job bouncing around school all day long, but he's got more than one site there as well. So
Yeah, I guess without getting into too much, you know, potential confidential details about it, do we have a sense for where this individual came from? You know, did she not have a car? Did she
She
come
doesn't
in
have a
from the
car.
bus?
She lives close.
Okay,
I'll leave it at that. She
Okay.
lives close meaning in a neighboring jurisdiction of ours.
okay,
So she told the officers when they asked if she wanted help, that she didn't want help and she could walk home. She's close enough to walk home.
That's all the question I had for that. I did have one question, since I'm new to the committee, as it relates to traffic enforcement. Do we have data that suggests that we don't need a dedicated traffic enforcement person when the school season's not on? So it seems like traffic enforcement isn't seasonal to me, but,
No, it's not. Well, it is in the respect that we do get more traffic-related complaints when school's in session. Neighbors complaining of cars that are in the area for different reasons, not necessarily speeding or, sometimes it's stop sign violations, but, so it can drive up our complaints. Really, this is driven by our department trying to be flexible and respond in areas that are best serve the community. Right now, our parks are loaded,
yeah.
And you guys, as the Board of Aldermen, authorize us to hire extra people to protect those parks. So it's honestly, it's part of a juggling act for us to be able to cover as best we can. That shifts a little bit sometimes, and as summer hits and kids hit that park, it's so popular that I made that decision to move London back into the park so that we've got the best coverage that we could have there.
Okay.
So that doesn't also mean that the road officers aren't required they do traffic enforcement. We give them traffic assignments regularly. Alderwoman Nancy Parker Tice gave us a couple last week that we worked for her, and that has worked out very well, despite the fact that you guys get complaints and you don't want to hear them. But to funnel them to us then is a productive way to be able to address those issues. So it's really just, honestly, it's just a matter of juggling to what we as the command staff think is most important in that particular time. That's why we moved London.
Okay. And then the red dot, it just didn't dawn on me when we talked about it at Ways and Means and approving all of but does that system require any regular calibration of the electronics or the mechanism? Because obviously if you get conditioned to look at where that dot is, and that's where it's gonna go, and
If it's off, you've got a problem.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yes, the answer is yes. But we are lucky. We have several officers, mainly supervisors, who we sent to school and got certified in these handguns and the weapon system. So they are embedded, obviously, in the line platoons, and they check these weapons. They're going to check the guns on a regular basis. So it's difficult to knock them off site.
Okay.
You got to really jar them to really bounce them to get them to go, but they'll check them on a regular basis. It's part of the roll call routine that there's several safety things that officers do during roll call. That'll be another one.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Just as a final thing, do you see the attendance in the parks, Brentwood Park and the other parks, as being similar to last summer?
No,
Higher, lower,
but sure looks that way to our park guys.
higher?
Yes. And we haven't had any problem. Parking's still an issue down there.
Okay.
Despite the signs being in place, people, I guess, just decide they're going to eat a ticket because they're getting them. But short of that, we have probably chased out 5 or 6 groups of kids since school let out at night there. And they're doing kid stuff, they're just coming and sitting at the pavilion or whatever. Hasn't been a big deal. But patrolling the park and watching that park and the numbers of people that are showing up at that park are pretty impressive.
Because of the size of it at 30-something acres.
I think it's a lot of reasons. I think it's a neat try. I call it the Six Flags at East. I mean, it's just cool,
Okay, all right. Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. Chief Cottrell?
Right, good evening. have a few items to highlight from the fire department over the last month or so. I'll begin with, we currently do have one open position within the fire department and due to a resignation, and so our application period is currently open. It will remain open until next Friday. So we look to grab up one more firefighter. We still have one in the fire academy. He graduates in July, and we're trying to onboard an additional one right now that he's completed all the pre-employment assessments. We're just waiting on results at this point. So we look forward to being full staffed, hopefully by August. With one of the resignations, we do have an opening for a lieutenant. So we did post today a lieutenant promotional process. And so we use a written exam from a national testing center, and they require a minimum of 60 days study time. So we posted that today to begin that 60-day clock. So that testing and assessment center for lieutenant will take place in the month of August. So more coming forward on that. Update on the fire training facility. All the contracts for construction are in place. And we are looking to schedule a groundbreaking ceremony some point this summer. We passed along a little bit of availability, but it looks like right now the general contractor looks to mobilize late July or early August. So we're working with them to see what a groundbreaking ceremony looks like. So we will be sure to share that. A vehicle update. So the apparatus committee, since the last public safety meeting, which I believe was March, they made the trip to Pierce in Appleton, Wisconsin, and they went through the specifications of the truck, had a very successful trip, and a clear understanding of layout of every tray, shelf, every corner of this piece of equipment, which will lead to our new business item a little bit later in the meeting. And it's still on track for January 2026 delivery. And since our meeting in a Board of Aldermen meeting in April, we did officially place the order on for the new ambulance, which we anticipate fourth quarter 2027. So the wheels are in motion. Everything's executed, and we will be happy to share that whenever it arrives. Now I want to kind of dig in a little bit to the May 16th storm, if I may. That's a little bit lengthy here, but I think it's important just to share kind of what happened and what we are aware of. As I mentioned at the Board of Aldermen meeting, very short notice from the tornado warning to the storm hitting, and then us immediately responding thereafter. The area command post was open, and we immediately began coordinating response for the entire region, from the city limits of Brentwood all the way to St. Louis City to the Mississippi River. Assistant Chief Burney immediately responded to the city of Clayton and assisted them with flights with the drone, and he was able to get responders to the most critical damaged areas quickly. With so much debris in the roadways and having those eyes in the sky, that definitely sped that process up. The calls for service in Brentwood, you know, it was a lot for the next 6 hours. There's a high call volume, but we did have one overtime personnel come in to work, and he was assigned to the UTV, which was extremely valuable that night. It was valuable as a fire engine. It just able to navigate the entire city. They were able to respond to any type of call. Even if they didn't have the resources, they put the people and their radio on the call so they could call for additional resources. So that was very high value to us that night. The searches concluded in the city of Clayton around 10 o'clock, although they did continue down in the city of St. Louis to a couple of hours later. That was a key point for us on that Friday night. It allowed us to slow operations. Clayton was able to, after that point, respond to 911 calls again. So we were able to release a lot of our neighbors and jurisdictions from multiple counties away, release and send them home. So that was a good point for that night for our responders. We did have the 2 storm-related injuries right out here in front of City Hall. The vehicle accident and the traffic signals were out because of no power. People were not stopping and the collision occurred. So that's the only injuries that we're aware of in the city of Brentwood that night from the storm. One of our firefighters was deployed as part of Task Force 1, and he did, I believe, 3 days of operations in the city of St. Louis and search and rescue in the rubble piles down there. Clayton did use our reserve engine, just the equipment, for a little over a week. We now have that piece of apparatus back, so that was a great benefit to them as well that we were able to share. Having a good maintenance program for our city and our equipment allowed for that to happen. So thank you. The damage assessments continued. We've wrapped that up. We've passed on information to SEMA and FEMA. I think we're in a really good place to start reporting this information internally now to Director Grunenfelder with the Parks Department, as he will compile all the information from all the departments throughout Brentwood. This next item that I want to highlight, to me, is very important. I think this speaks volumes to our city, our department, and our people. Assistant Chief Burney has spent numerous days down in the City of St. Louis Emergency Operations Center. A request was made. He was available. He agreed. And the service that he has provided has been extremely valuable. Having experience and exposure going through disasters, although they've been flood events, as well as he was a responder to the Joplin tornado in his previous employment, sharing information with a new administration in the city has proved to be extremely valuable. We are able to learn from that and bring back lessons learned that they've experienced back to our city that help give us information, help us make better decisions moving forward for mass care and mass distribution of supplies, for example. Just very key components in sharing the knowledge and sharing experience. We're very grateful that Ed has been able to do that. He does report down on Friday, and we believe that will end his work down there. It's been a lot of hours, a lot of hours. So in the report, I just put down a brief breakdown of the calls of service from Friday at 2:41 until 5 p.m. on Monday, because we still ran storm-related calls throughout the weekend and on Monday. And so, as you can see, we did have one fire in the city of Webster Groves that was not storm-related, but there was a fire on Sunday night in the middle of the night. A piece of information that you don't have on your report is I asked East Central Dispatch to give me a breakdown of the 911 calls they received the night of the storm. And from 2:30 in the afternoon until midnight is the slice they gave me. They processed 230 911 calls at East Central Dispatch. And keep in mind, there were cell towers that were blown down and cell service was not available to all those that may have needed to call 911. So they definitely saw a tremendous influx in the emergency calls for service. Moving over to the other attachment I have in my report, or the performance measures spreadsheet. A couple of things. The May column, of course, will reflect all of the calls for service. It will reflect the tremendous increase. I anticipate total incidents in that orange line to be around 300 for the month of May. As you see, we typically run between anywhere from 150 to 200 is kind of a typical month. So, but also to highlight, the categories are changing later this year, and that these are based off FEMA's requirements. And so the 100 through 900 categories on our performance measures, that will look different moving forward. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. As we progress on a monthly basis, you will see that. May I answer any questions? Thank you.
Have a few updates for Public Works. Over on Rosalie, east of Swim Club, just wanted to inform everyone, I'm sure if you drive through there, the advanced warning signs were put up on either side of speed cushion. The one thing I still want to do personally is put the data collector back up just to see how it's impacted the speeds in that area. So we'll put it back up exactly where it was and then record for about a 12-day period and then bring that back and compare it to the before conditions. Over on High School, I wanted to bring that to the last meeting, missed it, but I'll bring it to the June meeting. It's just the, basically, we're gonna limit parking north of that alley to the north of Litzinger, about 30 or so feet, about 2 car lengths. That way, if you're exiting the alley, you can see to the left, there's already no parking that way. If you're looking to your right, the last 2 cars that could have parked there should be gone, and then you should be able to see a little bit clearer. And that impacts however many homes there are there in that alley of Litzinger, at least a dozen, I would think. 2627 High School, another area that we'll put the data collector back. The person that asked if we could check it again, we'll do that. I mean, it's not a big deal to put it back up and then record for another 10 or 12 days. Street parking, queue lines, McGrath Elementary. The communications manager and I met with school representatives, the school resource officer, just to talk about how people pick up and drop off kids. I know it's in a cyclical fashion, there's only, coming in off of St. Clair and exiting off of High School. The school's I know that they already sent information to parents, but they'll do it again before the school year starts. They're gonna come to a coffee with the mayor right before the school year starts. School resource officer didn't have any issues really with what's going on, so just wanna make everybody clear that, you can't block traffic, you can't let your kids off, in the way of other vehicles trying to go through there, and I think everybody's following that. Parkside traffic calming request. In your packet, I had included the information. I put it as a placeholder, but I had time Tuesday to run through everything, and I put together what we normally do, which would be, full-blown analysis after we run the data collector. Some of the highlights, 85th percentile speeds, 23 miles per hour. It's a posted speed of only 20. 50th percentile is 19, average speed 18.7. There's not many vehicles that take Parkside. I thought maybe they'd use it as a cut through, but you're only seeing about 100 vehicles per day, and there's like 37 homes that are there. So in theory, if each person left and came back, that would be, 64 or 74 rather. So there was a maximum speed of 38 miles per hour that was recorded on Monday, the 26th, at 1300 hours westbound direction. So they were headed towards McKnight. There's just a couple other outliers. There was like a 36 and a 31, but pretty much everybody else is doing close to the speed limit or at the speed limit or below. So I sorted it by 5 mile per hour increments like I usually do. And I keyed in on like, say, 30 miles per hour or greater, because that would be 10 more than the posted speed limit. It's a very small fraction. You see there's 13 vehicles doing 30 or greater out of 1,165. So that's 1.1%. If I could get every street in Brentwood down to that, I'd be doing cartwheels, and I can't do a cartwheel, so. But I would try. So I guess my point of all this was that I don't see an issue with this being a problem area. I would focus in on areas that have way more volume and speeders like we've done before, whether it's Pine, Rosalie, things like that. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we did our analysis, and I don't see it being a problem unless somebody else hears from your constituents. And then lastly, Chief Cottrell, we had put together like a storm recovery and cleanup memo, just so that we could pass something along, because we did meet last week with FEMA and SEMA, but that was for the IA, which is the individual assistance. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we're supposed to meet with them for the public assistance. So that would be like helping cut down trees and removing and clearing the streets. And, our staff partnered with parks like we do with snow removal. We were fortunate, the city of St. Anne provided staff on that Monday, Tuesday, so we had 6 of their folks on Monday, 4 on Tuesday. They also provided a chipper truck and a chipper that's on a trailer. So we have our own, but having 2 units like that was great. And then to help a little bit more, the city of Baldwin provided their chipper truck and chipper, not staff, but we had 3 chippers going simultaneously, plus Davy Tree was out there chipping away. So I know this cut down our time considerably, probably at least 3 days worth of work that got consolidated because more hands to help do the work during, normal work hours. We started on that Friday right after the storm. I know we didn't work on the weekend. I know Parks did, clearing areas of the parks. And then Monday is when we really kicked in and just had a bunch of people helping us and then our own staff doing it. So luckily, we're pretty much done. I know Parks is doing a few little areas. I know we were giving residents up until May 30th to have it placed at the curb so that we could chip it up. I know we still have some logs and stuff by the shop, but we'll get that cleared out here shortly. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, Jeff?
I've got one question, and I guess I could have brought it up in my report, but I knew you were coming up to give your report. So we did have a resident that lives at Barnstable in Cecilia, and she talked about the street light being knocked over, I guess, in the storm. I just want to make sure you were aware of that and whether or not that was, I'm guessing it's a powered one from Ameren, not
It is.
not
Yeah,
a solar
we
light?
reported it, but I guess it hasn't been put
I don't
back
think it's
up.
been put back up yet. So
Okay.
just as a follow-up, and I'm sure it's because Ameren had many other priorities trying to get power on to everybody in St. Louis City and everything
Yeah.
else. So
I know there was one on Salem as well, but we reported it, and that one, the pole hadn't been put in just yet, so I was gonna take a look at that one, see if that ever got fixed. I can look at this other one too.
yeah, so that's all.
I just wanted to make a comment. I know we talked about this at the Board of Aldermen meeting, but I thought the response in general was just fantastic. I could not believe we had trees down in our immediate neighborhood, and within an hour, within 2 hours, I mean, we had people already working to dispose of them, Davy Tree Service and folks from Public Works. It was amazing. It was really remarkable. So.
I do want to echo on that. The storm had just stopped raining, and they were circling around Brentwood Forest looking for stuff. So it was just amazing, so thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and the only item on that is the meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review them? There'd be no changes to that. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll second it. You make a motion.
Motion and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder? Yes. Motion carries by a vote of 3-0.
Kelly, we have no old business. Under new business, we have 2 items. The first is a memorandum of understanding between our city and the city of Webster Groves concerning the police indoor firing range.
The contract with Webster Groves is something we've had each year, and it's just a renewal of that contract proposition.
Okay,
Motion to approve
there we go.
the MOU agreement,
That's what we want is the approval of the MOU. Does this go to the full
forward to the
board?
Board of Aldermen.
Okay, so
Yeah,
can I get a motion then? I was trying to figure out if we were motioning it up to the board or approval
Yeah,
on
I'll
our
make a
own.
motion to approve the MOU agreement and forward to Board of Aldermen for review and approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
second.
Has been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder? Yes. Motion carries by a vote of 3-0.
The next item on new business is regarding the fire department, a hydraulic rescue tool.
Try and be brief. So in fiscal year '25, we are purchasing the loose equipment for the new fire engine. This is the single largest item of that line item, and we need to get that ordered, so we ensure that it arrives in time. We do anticipate it arriving by the end of summer. But our personnel did the research. This does have the longest warranty on the batteries. I did work with Mr. Hetledge, and he helped me craft the resolution, and he agreed we're in compliance with the city's procurement policy with these steps. And we are asking to purchase the hydraulic rescue equipment for $38,014.22.
So, does anybody have any questions?
I have a, I mean, you sort of touched on it. I was looking at the budget book and, I mean, you have a bunch of pictures in here, but as far as loose equipment, was this about what you expected when you were doing the budgeting?
Yes,
Or is it
it is.
gonna,
It is in line. We knew we were going to be around $40,000 to $50,000 on this.
so you think you've got enough to also cover some of the other loose equipment that you've made?
Oh, absolutely. And when I say loose equipment list, that list is more than 200 individual items,
Yeah,
but none of them reach this threshold.
okay, great.
So I had a question about this. So these items in this bundle will eventually take their place on one of those shelves you talked about in the
Yes, sir.
in the new Pierce
Yes, sir.
truck that's coming in the fourth quarter of '27.
No, this is the engine that arrives in January of '26.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I misunderstood. Okay. My whole question was going to be about timing, so you answered that question. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Did anybody else have any? Okay, can I get a motion to purchase of new hydraulic rescue tools and accessories in the amount of $38,014.22? And this would also go to the full Board of Aldermen for full approval.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Chairman Plufka?
Yes.
Alderman Gould?
Yes.
Alderwoman Harder?
Yes.
Motion carries by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. And our last item on this agenda is citizen comments. Again, anybody who is online or in this room will be recognized. Come to the podium and tell us your name. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to discuss any issue you have with the city of Brentwood as it pertains to public safety. Thank you. I declare citizen comments closed, and with that, there are no more agenda items. Hearing no new business from anybody on the committee, I close this meeting of the